Hi, I'm Laverne Cox, and you're watching Out at the Center.
Let's do it. Let's do it. Take your time. Let's do it. Let's do it. Let's do it. Let's do it. Do it right. Come on, baby. Let's do it. Let's do it.
The Center's Immigration Support Services presented a panel on the ABCs of immigration in partnership with Immigration Equality and GMHC. This next segment offers highlights from the presentation that covered basic information on asylum, HIV status, and upcoming legislation affecting LGBT immigrants. Although all the presenters are lawyers, it should be noted that the information provided is for general information only and should not be considered legal counsel. You should always speak with a lawyer regarding a specific legal case. You can download the entire panel as an audio podcast by visiting gaycenter.org/out for the link.
This is the first of many educational forums that we expect to have. We plan to open these forums to all segments of the LGBT immigrant community, all languages, all countries. It's not immigration advice that you're getting like you would get when you go to a lawyer's office, because each case is different and each case is individual. It's impossible to do that in a forum like this. But we are going to be providing basic, general information.
Generally, how people obtain permanent residence or how they obtain green cards, usually based on some type of sponsorship, and is either sponsorship by a family member or by an employer. What else can LGBT people do in order to obtain legal status that's somewhat perhaps outside the mainstream immigration channels? And the main one that we deal with is people seeking asylum on the basis of their sexual orientation. And an asylum is a type of protection that you get. And essentially it's humanitarian in nature, and it's based in the theory or the principle that you should not be returned to a country where you would be harmed. To be eligible for asylum, it is, you don't need to show that the government of your country is who you fear, who you're afraid of. But what you do have to show is that the government in your country is unable to protect you. Generally, what you're expected to show is that there's a threat of violence.
HIV is treated differently than every other disease under the law. And by that I mean it is the only disease that is codified by Congress as a ban for immigration. There are other diseases on the Department of Health and Human Services list of communicable diseases, like syphilis, for example, which is completely curable, but that's another issue, and tuberculosis, which also ban immigration, but it's not codified under law. Now, this distinction is important because it's much easier to change a policy with the Health and Human Services than it is to change the law, which takes an act of Congress.
The same law gives an excuse or a waiver. We call it a waiver. But before you can get that waiver, you have to satisfy certain requirements. You have to prove one thing, that you have a qualifying relative. And who's a qualifying relative? Spouse of a U.S. citizen or legal permanent resident. No same-sex marriage.
Right, my colleagues have given you so much information about, a background on immigration and the problems with the process. And I feel like it's so depressing for a lot of people because there really is no viable option for many of the clients we see. But I kind of want to wrap up today by giving a little hope about where the law might be in the near future. Jerry Nadler and Senator Patrick Leahy introduced the Uniting American Families Act, which it doesn't recognize gay marriage because the Defense of Marriage Act already states that that's not possible. But it provides sort of a separate option for permanent partners.
And that's all for this excerpt from Out at the Center. If you want to see the full show, check it out on our website at gaycenter.org/out. Until next time, I'm Laverne Cox. Stay in the love.